Hi everyone, it's Rachel here, and today I thought I would just connect in with a few of you, give this live streaming thing a bit of a whirl and see how it goes. As you can see, the title is about how to let go of fear. This is my fear. You know, you put yourself live out there and you just don't know what's going to happen. So for the past couple of days since my little icon popped up, I've been saying to myself, I'm going to give it a go. And as each morning passes, I don't. So today I thought, well, I'll just give it a whirl. What's the worst that could possibly happen? Now, I know a lot of other people are, hey, Chris, feeling those sort of same things as well. And I suppose we're all wondering what the ideal question is to know how to overcome that fear. What happens if for a moment you don't actually have to overcome it? You know, it's a question most people don't ask themselves. When you have fear come up, they're real thoughts for you, and to be able to just say to someone, I'll just let them go and move on, is not very realistic. So I think in this instance, what I like to do, and I'm hoping that it may give you some tips and resources for you that you might be able to use, is just to be able to simply accept that that's okay. Usually fear comes up when you are trying to learn to do something new. And of course, when you do anything new, there are going to be fears, phobias, and anxiety that arises. The objection there is how you work through those emotional states that come up for you, because they are all forms of procrastination and they prevent you from making any steps forward. Then in turn, that what happens is that just internally you end up having like just this internal conflict going on with your thinking. What that means is that you're getting really stuck in the logical mind of what's going on for you when fear comes up. We start thinking about every single possibility, and instead of it just being fear, you've now turned it into a million possibilities of what could possibly be happening for you, rather than going, okay, this is something new I've never done before, and I'm just going to take each stage as it comes and accept and know that those feelings are going to come up for you, and that they're very real, but it doesn't mean that it stops you from being able to accomplish whatever it is that you want to do. Just say, for example, you go and start a new job, or you put yourself into school. When you go and do it, you don't have the education, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have all of the skills. Those are things that take time to acquire. That's why you went in that direction. So waking up and feeling a bit anxious every day, you can look at it as something that can stop you from doing something, or you can wake up and go, this is an opportunity where you get to learn and grow and really expand your knowledge around whatever it is that you're doing. So whenever fear comes up, remember, it's a stepping stone where you can utilize it as a platform to be able to move yourself forward or get stuck and feel trapped. And that's not what we want, because everyone this year is wanting to make massive impact, and that's so super cool. And how you're going to do that is through doing action, which means if you're going to apply a lot of action this year, that means there's going to be a lot of fear that comes up. And the only way you can move through it is to just keep making consistent steps every day towards achieving something new, and know that fear is going to be there. All of those little demons that sit in your head telling you all the little things that you can't do. You know that saying where they say, fear is only just the little stories that you tell yourself. And that's so true. But you can change those stories at any given time through proving to yourself that you can consistently do something even though fear is present. So, you know, I think it's something that is prevalent. There's no age restriction, there's no gender, there's no limitations. Every person gets presented with this particular subject at some time in their life. And I think it's an opportunity where you get to push yourself past those stories that you've been telling yourself, recreate new beliefs, know that, you know, sometimes things are just going to really bomb out, and that's okay, because the idea of doing something new is not for others, and it's not for you to look at the outcome at anything else other than just that you've done it. The result is not the outcome. It's about the simplicity of just doing the act that first scared you in the first place. So yeah, and I dig that. I'm sitting here and I'm recording, and I've got a few people on the line, and I'm sitting here shitting myself thinking, what the hell, this is all really new. And you just don't know how it's going to go, or how it's going to be perceived, how people are going to judge, because that happens. You know, there's judgment with everything that anyone does. But I think for myself, the thing I've learned over all of these years is that we do things other people don't always understand, but it's about your journey, and you're the only person that understands. And sometimes you don't understand, you just know that it's part of what you need to do, and the steps will present themselves, and that can be really scary too and bring up heaps of fear. So surround yourself with really great people that are going to inspire you and remind you that you're doing a good job on those days when you're not feeling so awesome, and be there and support them through those times as well, because they'll be going through it too. Because usually people that come together that are doing new things all have the same emotional states come up. They just vary at different stages. So having really great people around you to support you at any given time is going to be the most important thing. And how you change the thinking that you have. And affirmations is something that I am a really big believer in. You get the opportunity to remind yourself, you may not believe it at the first when you start doing affirmations, telling yourself that you're great, that you're successful, you're doing something really good. At the first time when you do that, you don't always believe it at the beginning, but the more you do it, the more it starts to become part of your thinking that you can do it. And you can question, when those fears come up, why are you allowing yourself to only focus on the fear? What about allowing yourself to see the objective, which is there's a polarity, which is the flip side, which is, what if it did work out? What if it worked out awesomely and you wasted all that time worrying about it? So there are always two sides to every opportunity that presents itself. It's a matter of where you allow yourself to bring your attention and focus to. So that's where I am at myself, trying new things. I've always had 3 little things that I always have lived by. And one is that life must be fun. And anyone that knows me knows that I do definitely enjoy to laugh at any opportunity I can. Sometimes usually at the expense of my own self, but that's all good. And the second is I need to do something that stretches me, pushes me outside of my comfort zone. And then at least once a year, I must do a holy shit, scare the living daylights out of yourself something. And they're the 3 things that I live by. So my question to you guys is, what are your rules that you live by? Do you have opportunities where you push yourself? Are you making little rules for you to live by to make you step up and bring the best part of yourself and to question yourself of where you're at and how you're going to get yourself to where you want to be? Are you questioning what is it you might need to change in order to achieve what you want? And that means like retraining yourself to believe that there are other opportunities out there. And that can be daunting, because if you've only thought a particular way all your life, it's going to have those particular challenges too, because you're going to have to almost like rewire your thinking. And that takes time. But the more consistent and the more persistent you are with it, the deeper the belief becomes with you. And the more you actually learn to change the files. And what I mean by that is, I think that like our brain is filled with, when you think of like a filing system, and in that filing system is multiple files, and inside of those files is multiple bits of information, data that you've put into each one of those. So you can use that as an example, as like if you've had a great experience with something, inside of that are going to be all of the emotions and everything that your memory can recall straight like that, to be able to remember that whole enjoyment period. We also have those files where we've put in things like fear, we've put in doubt, lack of self-belief, lack of self-confidence, and inside of those are tiny little articles that you've put in there for you to believe. So the next time when you think of fear, you have all of this little collection of data that's sitting in your filing system, which is in your mind, that you can recall on to believe that. So when you change your thinking and bring in things like affirmations every day, what you're actually doing is you're actually going into those filing systems and you're taking out a negative or a not so cool data, and you take that out and you dispose of it. And it just takes a little bit of time, and you just, as you're taking out data that's not so cool in your thinking and in your memory, you're actually replacing it with something very, very cool and powerful. And that's how you get to change your beliefs and your values and reestablish that alignment with yourself, where you get to not only believe it within your heart and soul that you can achieve anything, but it also then moves into your thinking, and you start to think that you can achieve whatever you want. When we have an incongruency where we feel it in our heart and soul that we can achieve something, but our mind tells us something really different, we end up with so much internal conflict. And I see that often. And I myself, like, I'm not going to lie, I've had multiple times myself through this. I can really be empathetic when someone presents this to me, because I remember those stages. And, you know, there's still sometimes now that those present themselves. And I always remember of that filing system, and I say to myself, what kind of files do I want to have in my memory bank? What kind of files do I want to work from today? Are they the files that are going to empower me and allow me to discover new beliefs about myself and change things that aren't working? Or do I want to go to that filing system in my mind that's going to remind me of why I can't do something? Because when you go to those files, there's nothing that's great that's generated from this. It only propels you to move into areas where, instead of you only just feeling like, you know, you're feeling a little bit crappy here, if you only work from those data files, I'm telling you, those files, you can work through the whole filing system really, really quickly and end up in a really dark place, not feeling really good. And then it takes twice as long to build yourself back up to the place that you first started at, which was self-doubt, let alone move into areas of self-empowerment or inspiration, or, you know, focusing on how you can help serve others. And we all have those times, and it's okay to visit those times if you can have a look at what you're there to learn and then move on from that. But if you get stuck there and you're not moving up and you see yourself slipping down, you have those choices to implement different radical shifts. So fear is also something that affects our physiology. It's a neurological response that sends chemicals, like chemical transmission, through our body and puts our body into a state of physical fear. So when we also get that mental fear, of course, it travels down through our spinal cord. It sends out an emission of chemicals that all of the cells pick up on, and then we not only think of fear, but we physically start to feel that fear. So another way to overcome fear is to be active. Do things that get your body moving. Now, everyone is very different. Some people love cardio, just go and thrash the living daylights out of themselves, and I dig that. That's cool. For other people, it needs to be done on a more gentle scale, which is implementing things like yoga and Pilates and bar and those kind of things. So you have to remember, how does your body work when you're in a state of fear, that you can do some form of physical activity that brings your body back to an alignment, to something where you've actually released that physical fear from your physicality and released it in a constructive way. Because what happens is, if that physical fear is not dealt with in a constructive way, it comes out in a really explosive manner, and that's where you get outbursts and you feel anger, and then you feel rage, and and before you know it, you're just looking for someone just to rip their head off, and that's just because your physical fear needs to come out of your system. So you have a really constructive way that you can deal with the mental aspect of fear, and you also have a physical way that you can deal with fear. So there's lots of different ways. You know, if something doesn't work, try something different. As you learn new bits of information, we can't keep doing the same thing all the time. So if something doesn't work that used to work for you at one stage, you can then go and try something different, because when you've learned new bits of information, what's happening is you can't use the same data in the file in your mind and think that you're going to get really great results. You have to put new data in. You need to put new files, because you've just had like an evolution of progress. So your thinking becomes different, and your expansion of awareness around you has really risen highly. And so therefore that's really cool. Thanks, Crystal. And yeah, like I'm so busy making sure that I'm talking to everyone, I've forgotten to just say thanks so much everyone for joining. You know, go ahead and share, like Crystal, what the person that's on has said, feels like you swear you're talking to me every time I hear you. And I think that's really great, because I think on some level we all have this. It's just a conversation that we don't like to have. And, you know, I have to, when I'm talking about this with you guys, you know, I have to bring real stories of what's gone on for me, you know. And so when I talk about these subjects, I know them to be true because in some ways I'm still living them myself and looking at ways to overcome them. And when I come across things that I know that have worked for myself, I feel like I need and want to share them with people, because I just can't stand watching other people suffer. And that's how we get to collectively help so many people, is because if I get to teach you and you get it and you dig it and you work at it and it works for you, you're going to go and tell someone else. And then that's a person goes in and does the same thing. And that's how we collectively get to help as many people as we can, by just sharing the knowledge and just being really honest, because, you know, we're humans here living a human experience. And I'd love to say, yeah, I wake up every morning feeling awesome. That's not the case. That's not the reality for some people. Some days it's a struggle and they need to be inspired and they need to be around people that are giving them tools and resources that they haven't thought about, to be able to go away and try something different because they're seeing someone else get those results. And that's what I want with these live streaming, is just to be able to share and connect with you and see where you're at. If there's any way that I can help you guys. So if you have any, you know, anything that you want to share in the little box down below, that, you know, you maybe want a little bit more information around something, go ahead and drop it in there. I'm happy to share anything and the knowledge that I have as a way to help everyone as much as possible, because I know the more I help you, the more you can help other people. And that's what our journey in life is to gather information, share it, and then collectively we can create new change. So I really hope that today has been something that's given you some tools and resources to be able to go away with. So, you know, just recapping over it, remembering that fear is present and that it's okay. We have choices. We can either allow them to stop us from doing something, and which leads to even more, you know, bigger problems, because there's so much doubt and everything that comes in. And then, you know, we have, I'm going to have a bit of a giggle here. So I'm trying to watch the screen and look at the stuff going on down the bottom, and then I got people sending messages in on the top. So I'm sort of like trying to keep it all together. So this is all new, and I'll get the hang of it as I go along. So yeah, as I was saying, focus, Rachel. That fear is really present. We have two choices. We can either learn from it and accept that that's going to be normal, when you're doing something new, to have moments of fear, or if you don't have the answers, there's going to be, you know, aspects of fear that come up for you, because we all like to think that we have the answers and that we know the next step. Sometimes we just don't, and we just have to work through that. Then understanding that fear works on two aspects of our thinking, so we can go in and we can create change with, you know, saying affirmations and understanding when we do those first, it's going to feel really weird. But the more consistent we do it, the more we put in new collective data that we can use the next time around that we experience fear, and be able to access that information and know that it works for you. And then also remember that fear stores in our physiology, so in our cells. And so instead we can do sort of like a fear cleansing, if you want to call it that, through doing physical exercise. And physical can be cardio, it can be stretching and yoga. Look, even sometimes like just getting stuck into the housework, scrubbing the house from the top to the bottom is physical exercise. And so remember where you're at, be okay with that, share it with others, and allow people to come into your world to help you. You don't have to do this journey on your own. That's the biggest thing I'm noticing at the moment, is a lot of people feel that if I go and say, well, I'm not feeling so great, then we're showing a sense of weakness. It's not. It's being very real, and it's being human, and understanding that not every day you're going to feel great, but you can do things differently so that your day becomes more awesome. Because the last thing you want is to wake up feeling crap, if you do, and have a whole day experience feeling that way, because that just is shit, basically. But share it. Let people come in and help. You never know who might be able to help you at any given time. And remember, you can help anyone else. So that's it for today, guys. I really want to say thank you so much. I really enjoyed that. I had some people turn up because that was my biggest fear, that I would do this and I'd just be talking to myself. Now, that's quite normal on a day-to-day basis, but you really don't want that on live streaming. But thanks so much, everyone. I really enjoyed you jumping on board and, sending me messages. I'm going to do this every day. And, if you have if there's something that you want to know, send me a message. I'm happy to talk about lots of different things. And if you want to share this, because this will go up afterwards, feel free to do that. I would really appreciate that. But thank you, guys. I can't thank you enough for just jumping on board and joining me today. So love to you all. Have a great day, and I will see you soon.